So the patch preview has dropped, and we're going to be breaking down the changes that they made to all of the items and the champions. And there's also an update on improvements to matchmaking and side imbalance, MMR, especially for high elo, off-roll balancing. We're also going to be covering that, but we're going to be starting off with the patch notes. First of all, Azir. They did some interesting changes to Azir. They increased his health regeneration, which I believe they nerfed in a previous patch. And they also upped their armor. So I'm a big fan of these changes because I think Azir's health regeneration was nerfed in the past because he was running either Grasp or Fleet, which gave him a lot of regen in the game. So now with all the nerfs to Fleet and also the Absorb Life, which I'm not sure if Azir actually ran, what's going to happen is that he gets a little bit more health regeneration. So I actually think that this is a fine change in which that they're reverting that. And them changing the armor to give him a little bit more armor is also really good because it doesn't really affect his effectiveness into mage matchups, but into the AD mids that are currently really rampant. This is a thing that they're doing to a lot of champs, by the way, increasing the armor so that they're stronger against AD mids. It's actually really good. So I think it's a very fair change to Azir. I really like the route that they went with this champion. There's going to be, of course, a Worlds patch coming up real soon. So they want to be shifting this champion a little bit more back into the meta, which I don't really want to see Worlds being dominated by Azir again, but I think it's fine if he pops up every once in a while. So, yeah, decent change. I like where this is going. So small Orianna, at least not too small of an Orianna buff. Actually, pretty decent Orianna buff in which that they added a little bit of QAP ratio onto Ori. And the way that you want to view this is, at them, it's only 5% of QAP ratio. And I'm like, that's absolutely right. It's only 5%. But this is an ability that's on such a short cooldown. You're going to be using it all throughout the game. This is your main ability. So getting a little bit of extra damage on that main ability that you're going to be using so often just really starts racking up at a certain point in the game. So the amount of damage that you're going to be dealing additionally with this change, it's going to be adding up in the hundreds eventually. So I actually really like that they made this change right here. And I think they also hit the right target in Orianna's kit, because Orianna is currently, she's really good in lane. She's an absolute lane bully, that's for sure. But she does struggle a little bit in skirmishes, especially in mid to late fights. She's really ult reliant, putting her ball in chokes and really just pressuring enemies to come through those chokes. And this allows her to do a little bit more besides that. Not the biggest changes, but really welcome, and I think definitely in the right direction. So Syndra buffs. That's the champion I did not expect to see on this patch right here, but I was really happy it was. Maybe it wasn't good because now she may get contested too much, but yeah, she gets a very interesting buff in her ult. So yeah, let's break it down. We're gonna go a little bit deeper on this one. So what they actually did is they give her 10 base damage per Dark Sphere on her ult. So how does this work? Syndra's ult basically throws balls, dark spheres, at people, and she already starts off with 3 balls at the start of the cast. And what's going to happen with every Q that you have, or every ball, or every dark spear that you have on the field, you get an extra ball up to a maximum of 7 in her kit. So usually you're gonna already be having 1 Q out on the field. So at minimum, this is gonna be dealing 40 extra base damage, which is nice. That's a lot of damage. But post level 7, you're gonna usually be rocking around with at least 5 balls on the field, which means that you get about 50 base damage increased on your ult. And since you only get your ult at level 6 and you get your Q upgrade usually around level 7, what's gonna happen is that your ult's gonna be dealing a lot more extra damage. So yeah, the kill threat's gonna be through the roof with Syndra, like 50 extra base damage. That's a full auto. I think it's a pretty powerful change. Personally, I would have liked for them to change a different part of Syndra's kit, since this is a point and click ability, and it's also an ability that you just don't use that much. So maybe the cooldown on the W, or the reverting of or like the reverting of the Q AP changes in the past, even though that would be kind of bonkers if they did that, if they revert that AP change. But overall, what am I even yapping about, right? Because Cinera's already an S tier champion for sure. I already listed her there. She's fucking fantastic. So she didn't deserve this buff at all. So yeah, we're just gonna continue. We're gonna seem like we don't see anything here. Silas buffs, 25 HP additionally, and a little bit more AP scaling on his passive, which is on only a primary target, which is good, and the W base damage. So yeah, they absolutely good at him last patch, huh? Let's actually take a look at the Lolalytics and look at Silas. What happened to our boy Silas here? If we look at win rate, yeah, he dropped. He dropped a lot. He absolutely got good at last patch. It is what it is. And I think they're trying to stabilize him a bit again. They have some strange intentions with this champion. I think giving him starting HP it's okay. I think the passive change is also really cool, actually. Since guys, it kind of forces you to be up close towards someone, which gives this champion a little bit more of identity. I think the W base damage buff, it's like 10 damage, so it's really whatever. I don't mind it personally. I know it's a point and click ability, and it's a little bit unskilled, but I personally think it's okay because he really needs to be in the area to do that. He can only do that from short range, so I think it's okay. And it gives him a clear identity of where they're actually going to be going with Silas. They want him to be up in your face. They want him to be fighting you up in your face. That's what they want with the champ. So sure, I think it's okay. Puts him in a little bit better spot, but still overall hard nerfed compared to 2 patches ago. So they're changing Katarina in the sense that they're trying to make Katarina a little bit more of an AP burst assassin rather than an on-hit AD champion. So they're actually changing a lot when it comes to the Q. They're giving the Q 40 more base damage on rank 5, plus they're giving it 10 more AP ratio, 10% AP ratio. Massive buffs to the Q. Massive buffs with the Q, which is, in a sense, dangerous because it's also a point and click ability. It's really unskilled. But I think it's good. I like these changes. They're also nerfing the E base damage by 20. So what's going to happen is that maxing Q is going to be incentivized instead of maxing E. And they're also reducing the on-hit effectiveness on Katarina's ult. So I've been running into a lot of 80 on-hit Katarinas lately, guys. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think the AP Katarina is a little bit more healthy with a little bit more counterplay as well. This on-hit stuff, it's tricky because even tanks don't work that well into Katarina anymore. If she goes this on-hit stuff with Kraken, Borg, Terminus, she even gets resistance and stuff like that. I don't really like it. So I think the way that they're going with Katarina right now it's in the right direction. But we'll have to see how the changes land. I think for the current style of Katarina, it's definitely a nerf. But I think in the long run, it makes Katarina a little bit easier to balance as well. So if you're a Katarina main and you see this as a nerf, I think it's in the short term, it maybe is. But in the long term, it's easier to balance your champ, and it's probably going to be better for you. So I want you to view it like that. Vi. Small buffs to her Q max damage. Pretty whatever, honestly. Let's move on to Skarner. So Skarner is in a pretty bad spot. I love the change they did last patch, in which that he's not able to grapple you and insect you for like 10 kilometers away. And they're giving him a little bit more base health. Not sure what that was. Doesn't matter. They're giving him a little bit more base health, which is good. And a little bit more base AD. I'm not sure what it means for Skarner. I haven't played Skarner myself. So I'm going to be really honest. I'm not sure what these changes mean, but I think Skarner is not that good at the moment. So I think the changes are going to be okay. And from what they actually do here, especially since it's bonus AD ratio, Skarner doesn't get much bonus AD at all. So I think the changes in itself are pretty... They're okay. They will not push this guy over the edge. they may make him playable every once in a while, but Skarner's still going to be Skarner. Maybe his jungling is a little bit better, because I think they want to remove him out of top lane, put him a little bit more into the jungle. So his jungle might be a little bit better, and I think therefore they're making the change in the right direction. So, Wukong. This is not changes that they're actually shipping to Wukong. They're actually changing different stuff to Wukong, in the sense that I think they're giving him a little bit more attack speed on E, and a little bit and something on passive. I'm not entirely sure, but this is not it. So Wukong changes seemed a little bit whatever to me as well. Yeah, I don't think it's the biggest. So moving on to nerfs. Corki, really good nerf. Really, really, really good nerf. Corki is a problem because of his insane wave clear, his ability to stat check champions, and of his ability to like still play like a little bit of a spellcaster in the meantime as well. In the sense that Corki can just constantly Q you on last hits when you're forced to like either give the creep or get hit by the Q and lose a lot of your HP. And that's what made like Chovy so good on this champions, because Chovy knew exactly how to manage the waves in a way that he could constantly harass you with his Qs. And if you're going to be playing against Chovy Corki, you want to cry. So giving him 1 second extra on the Q is a nice change. I think changing the Q in itself is good, because I think Corki's identity should be a little bit like that he is a strong out attacker with the extra true damage and with the E as well. I think that's a fine identity. But yeah, the Q in itself is very problematic at the moment. The damage is really high. And I think if they're nerfing this part of his kit, it gives him a little bit more of that clear identity again. So I like that. Also, the mana cost is also nice, especially in the early lane. He's going to be struggling a little bit more now before the tier. But realistically, yeah, his lane just got a little bit nerfed. The first, give or take 7 levels, probably got a little bit worse. But after that, he stays a little bit the same. So overall, decent nerfs. And I think with all the changes that we're seeing otherwise right here, so for example, to the Syndra change, the Orianna, I think Corki will slowly cease to be balanced, because there's just champions that are going to be matching him much easier. I like it. I like where it's going. So they're trying to put Lucian. They're trying to get Lucian out of mid, putting Lucian towards bot. I think this change is pretty whatever in that aspect, because usually in bot lane, only with like Nami, Lucian really uses this. I think it's a good change for Lucian mid, but I still think Lucian mid is going to be good though. I still think it's going to be good, even though with the Kraken changes and now also Borg, they did buff Black Cleaver. So we'll have to see. It's probably still playable. It is probably still playable. Same as Zeri. It's probably still playable on mid lane, and I am yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's too hot right now. I think it's fine if Lucian mid's playable every once in a while, but if you have some counterplay, yeah, maybe with the counterplay from Syndra right now and Orianna, maybe he's gonna start struggling, because yeah, these matchups, they're always very skill expressive, and if the Orianna, Syndra, and the likes of that get a little bit more base damage, Lucian's may start struggling, because the reality of the situation is Lucian also was really good at playing the War of Attrition and just slowly poking you out while staying high elf himself. I'm not sure if this is going to put him into bot lane. I think it's just overall nerfs to Lucian, which is honestly in this case, with the meta that we've seen lately, I don't mind it at all. So Qiyana gets a little bit more armor. Oh yeah, Qiyana changes are big actually. These are some very interesting changes. So let's see what they do here. Initially, that's the wrong button. Armor goes up by 3, which I think is good. I like it when they make changes like this, because it gives them a little bit more of a niche, in which that they become stronger against AD champs, a little bit weaker again, like stay the same versus AP champs. So I like these type of changes. They're changing the Q damage in the sense that they're giving it a little bit more damage level 1, but they're taking a little bit more damage level 5 of the ability. And they're increasing the ratio by 15%. So we got to take a look. Is that bonus AD or is that total AD? Okay, so that's big. It's bonus AD and not total AD. So if it's bonus AD, that means that you need wow. How much bonus AD does that mean that you need? You need like 70 or something like that? I'm not that good at. No, you don't need 70. You need like 100 bonus AD. Yeah, you need like 100 bonus AD to get like. Oh no, 100 means 15 damage. Yeah, so you do need like 70. Like 70 bonus AD to make up for the lost damage at level 5. So I think it's a little bit of a neutral change, but it skills a little bit better. The Q skills a little bit better now. But I also think that the Q is a slight buff for sure. So the Q is definitely a buff. And that means that probably at like the later part of the lane, Qiyana's going to be start chunking you with Qs a little bit more. And Qs are going to be a little bit more yeah, that's going to be a little bit more of a fighting and a trading pattern. So overall, I think that the Qiyana changes are so far okay. They're reducing the base damage of the W, which is pretty significant. It's pretty significant. And they're also reducing the R80 ratio. And this is absolutely massive, by the way. This is crazy because the R80 ratio on the Qiyana, as you can see right here, was absolutely out of control. Was absolutely out of control. So let's take a look here. Bonus AD as well. Yeah, it's just absolutely out of control ability. If you landed a good R, you could have just won the team fight of it. So I think that these changes are actually, yeah, I think if you're a good Qiyana player, there may be buffs. Because in that sense, you can take more value out of the small Q changes that you get here. Plus the better early lane. Because they're trying to make Qiyana's early lane a little bit better while still making her a scaling assassin. And since you always get 2 Qs out in one combo, at least 2 Qs, I think it's actually fine for you as Qiyana. And it's going to be a little bit more skill expressive actually as well, because the R in itself is now less of a nuke, and you now are forced to land more Qs to make up for it. So I actually think that the Qiyana changes, even though they seem a little bit as a nerf for Qiyana players in the first at first glance, if you're above master and you're Qiyana, this is probably a buff. Because you can probably make this work in a new style of playing. But I think for lower elos, it's definitely a nerf because this R was just an absolute nuke for lower elos. So we'll see. We'll see. So honestly, Senna, like, they changed so much here. I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't care what they do to Senna because they don't appear on my lane unless they're like roaming. So I'm gonna skip this one, and I'm just gonna see what it is. It's too much text for me to read, so I don't care about Senna. We'll see. So system buffs, Black Cleaver. What they're changing is that Cleaver doesn't require a small time between stacks to stack up. So what does this mean? That means that champs that hit you with 2 things at the same time will stack up Cleaver faster. So that it means probably Senna or like champs with on hits, maybe Urgot with his auto attack plus his passive lag hitting you at the same time. I think stuff like that stack Cleaver much faster. It may be broken on some champs right now. I'm not sure. I am not entirely sure. Maybe like some interactions with Borg get buffed as well. Definitely looks like a very strong buff for the item. I think the item was already in an okay spot. The item was not bad at all, and with these buffs, I think that some champs are really gonna like this and abuse it in a way. I'm scared in a sense that I hope that no crazy cleaver rush decks come out or something like that. But it probably will. Knowing how the league player base is, there's gonna probably be some cleaver abusers real soon. Anyway, system nerfs, Doran's Blade, 10 gold. This item was absolutely broken. If you looked at the stats on this one, it gave so much health. It gave lifesteal, which is a pretty unique stat. Really valuable stat as well. And especially for the champs that built this item. And it gave AD. So this item was absolutely overtuned. And I really like the stance that they're going. So with the 20 HP nerf and with the slight lifesteal nerf, I think that the sustain once again of these AD champions is going to be definitely reduced. And we're now going to be seeing that the Lucians and the Zeris and also the Corgis, they're going to just struggle a little bit more in the lane. Their lanes are just getting indirectly nerfed, and I love it. I'm all up for it because this is opening up for a little bit more counterplay to it as well. Yeah, really good changes, actually. I love the Doran's Blade changes. The champs that buy this get hit by quite a bit. That's a lot of stats gone. And I think they hit the right place as well. I think health was the right place to hit. I don't care if they kept the lifesteal at the same place, but I think that hitting the health was the most important thing. So, Blade of Rune King nerfs. At least somewhat. Like, they reduced 5 AD. They also reduced 5 attack speed, which is fine because the item is very niche in the sense that if you buy it for a reason. And they're kind of buffing the niche, but they're nerfing the raw stats. So I really like the way they're going with Blade. And I still think that for the champs that want to buy it, given the right circumstances, it's a really good item, but you could just don't want to like hard slam it right now. One item I would have liked to see here is Static Shift, because I think Static Shift is absolutely broken, and the item is way too good. But I would have liked to see that in here. But now to the big adjustments right here. System adjustments is they changing the death timers. They changed the death timers a while ago to reduce, like, I don't know why they did it, but what really happens right now is that if you solo kill someone in the lane, you now have time to push in the wave. If you're playing top lane, mid lane, bot lane, if you solo kill someone, you now have 4 extra seconds to do whatever the fuck you want. And this is also going to make other summoners in the lane a little bit more viable. Instead that only TP is going to be viable. So you're going to now see a little bit more usage cases in Ignite. This indirectly buffs assassins because they now have the time to shove in the wave and they don't get absolutely annihilated if they go for solo kill in the wave state's fucked. Because that's what happened, right? If you're playing Talon and you're solo killing someone with Ignite and your wave's not in good position, they just TP back. You cannot unfreeze. You're going to lose 2 waves by resetting. You're going to be a full level down and you're actually going to lose the lane even though you solo kill someone. So, yeah, this is great, guys. I like these changes. I think there was a little bit of a skill cap in the sense that solo killing at the right time really meant a lot. But I think, honestly, that was quite niche, and I like the fact that they're adding this again. So overall, I'm pretty happy with what Riot is doing right here. And then you get a little bit more home guards when leaving the fountain. I think it slightly makes up for it, but maybe only 1 second or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure how it works, but we'll have to see how it goes. So finally, pretty good patch. I like where it's going. Syndra buffs are luxury, definitely not necessary. I would have loved to see maybe some Zeri changes and some shift changes. But overall, I like the direction of the patch. I'm really, really happy with the patch. They're pushing the game in the right direction, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the improvements to matchmaking and ranked experience, because this is also massive for higher elos. What we're seeing here is that there was a little bit of a blue and red side team imbalance, mainly in the fact that, especially in the higher elos, you saw that red side had higher MMR players, so that skilled heavily out of control when it comes to putting up challenger players versus grandmaster players. It's just quite a difference between them. And you also saw that there was a lot of off-roll imbalances, in which that blue side especially got a lot of autofills. And then the red side, for example, no autofills. And that's happened to me a lot where there's this one team with 2 fills and the other team with 0 fills. So it's just absolute, especially with the MMR change. Like it's just not a competition. It's just a loss. You're queuing up and you're losing. You will lose. Especially for mid laners like me, what happens is a lot is that you get failed a lot because mid lane is such a popular role. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna first of all balance the sides a little bit better, in which that red side now will be a little bit more balanced with blue side compared to MMR. So there's not any big changes when it comes to skill disparity. So I like that a lot. But honestly, I don't think that was even the biggest issue. The biggest issue was not that red side had slightly better players. That honestly was not the biggest issue. The biggest issue was that there's overall imbalances. So if you have a better player, like it's someone can minimize. And the problem was that the red side had the better player. So for example, there's always a counter pick towards that player as well. Potentially, right? Usually it was top lane that got the counter pick. But I think the biggest issue was actually that there's a lot of overall imbalances. So if you put, like, for example, in NA, I'm not an NA player, I'm EU West. But if you put that rank 1 30 guy, right? Counter pick R5 on and he's rank 1 for a reason, right? And you put that versus little Jimmy Jones, that is out to fill top, right? And he locks in the Garen, and he then gets counterpicked by his Vayne on R5. We all know what's gonna happen. We know that Jimmy Jones is not gonna lose. Is not gonna win that game by about a 95% prediction rate. So yeah, it's really good, the changes that they're making here. I hope that it is now gonna actually match second roles and overall. So if you're a second rolled, the enemy team also has a second role. If you're actually out the field, the enemy team also has an out the field. So if this is actually balanced, if this is legitimately done like this, we're going to be in a fantastic position. And the games are going to be much, much more happy to play. So I like overall the changes in which they're going, a lot of changes in general. And I'm curious to see what the results are going to be next patch. If you guys have any questions, let me know.